brought up and they said, well, the Deen is not relevant. My parents don't know. You know, because some of you all came from that. Allah allowed you all. I know my father did. He said he could have been a top all-star basketball player. He went home from Rutgers one summer, got with his uncle. His uncle was younger than him, but he's his uncle. And he schooled him to the Elijah Muhammad. And he came to the temple. From then on, he ain't been back to school. He had several businesses. Now my sister's, she has her 2 degrees. My brother has his degrees. My aunt, they're doctors. Well, she's an education doctor, and she's a marathoner, and my mother's a marathoner. So that's what community life is. Community life is a marathon. It's not the short sprint, right? So that brings us to, and we're winding down. I get excited just listening, and then when I have to talk, it's like, okay, well, I gotta calm down, Yeah, I gotta calm down, Alhamdulillah. So we'll skip this because we always reverence the salat. That's number one. Hayya ala salat. And in fact, the Prophet Muhammad said that there was never a nation that fall until he left off prayer, until they left off salat. So we don't leave off salat. Salat is very important. But Allah also says there's a balance. There's falah. Falah means cultivate, right? So don't soup me up on just thinking I'm gonna get it from this. I gotta open these hands up and use and cultivate the environment. So there's some Quranic verses, and I want to. I submitted to the mosque kids. I would even like to even have like a committee. We could actually develop like a textbook, a community development textbook. Because when you go to these community meetings, there's always a fraternity, a sorority, some nonprofit organization. They're trying to pull you into their camp. That's right. And they give you their strategies for applying community development. Who better to establish community development than from our legacy of community development, right? So I think we should do that. And another thing that even makes it more prevalent that we have to do that is that because in business, they're actually modeling, network model is modeled off of the fruit of Islam. Quiet as kept. I got frustrated with my father one day. He invited me. Well, I didn't get invited. I was always with my father. So he got invited. Some other brothers in New York. I didn't know what the meeting was, and it was a one and another. I'm not going to say the race because we all won, but there was the left and the right, and they was asking questions to them about what made y'all so devoted to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What was it that had y'all outstanding in all degree weather selling fish, selling this, selling that? They were trying to find out what are these human principles that the underserved man would do to another man who just gave him a vision, a period of vision. Elijah Muhammad had way more than a vision, we know, right? So they were trying to piecemeal my father and his associates trying to get. So they peeped it. I didn't know what was going on. I know this now because I've been in the settings too. But at that time, I'm just like, So every time we go to meeting, we bring a bean pot, right? So when we thought the meeting was over, they start eating the pie. They start talking about the pie. They was like, how can we get this? Because now in business now, because of all the fight for the civil rights of our my grandmother, she went through that. She was part of the sit-down movement. Those who fought for our civil rights, they have to give minority African American a percentage of corporate and government business, up to 16, sometimes 35, sometimes 55%, depending on the population of the people. Yeah. So they coming to us telling us, well, we could get this pie up and down the East Coast, 16%, all running numbers, and my father's like, well, who's going to produce it? He said, no, don't worry about that. We'll take care of this. That. So my father, I'm like, yo, let's get the money, in my mind, little mind, right? I'm like, they said we could do this, get the money, and then maybe we could do our own thing. My father told me after, he said, anytime you give up production, you give up your product. When you give up your product, you give up your potential and your future. So to this day, we have our own product, and we ain't giving it up. We'd rather give it up to you all, and we develop a manufacturing plant, and we create jobs, and we create industry for our people. Because Allah has blessed us with that. So that leads us to this quote. This is actually a theory, and it's called the tragedy of the commons. At first, I liked it. As I thought about it, I said, well, I'll see. Let's see what you all think. I was going to take questions, but we might not have time for questions. So if you all want to interject anytime, I'm cool with that. So tragedy of the commons. They saying that optimizing for the self in the short term isn't optimal for anyone in the long term. So it's and they gave an example of how if you have 5 people going to a water and there are 5 fish and each 10 fish and they produce a fish a day. So every day they're going to get a new increase of fish. If everybody come, how much should everybody get? And they gave the whole problem. And they said for the best optimal use of the lake, to get the benefit of the lake, everybody should get 1 fish. They said, what if somebody have taken 5 fish because the other person only wanted 1 fish? They said it wouldn't be beneficial for everybody, even though he didn't need the 5 and I didn't want the 5, for him to take 5. So they said that when you do that, you lose the common good, right? But I thought about our logic from the Quran and Sunnah life tradition of the Prophet, and then we have our history here in America, that we have an enlightened self-interest, and we have an obligation of charity, of giving. So even if the person take 5, he has an obligation to give what he doesn't, or whatever. If I come up short and it ain't no more, you have an obligation to assist me. So at first I was like, oh yeah, that's nice. Everybody should just get the same amount. But Allah doesn't allow that. Allah allows, he said he blesses you among degrees. So we're going to have some millionaires and billionaires. We're going to have some struggling. But if we're one community, we should adjust accordingly. So that brings us to the model community. It's about balance. It's all about balance. In our tradition of Safa and Marwa, there's a balance. The Prophet upon him said that after they migrate, no more migration. Taqwa wa jihad. Be reverence of God and struggle. When we plan, we don't just want to get caught up in planning. We actually want to implement these plans. So there's a balance. And then we have the group, and then we have individual. There's a balance. And there's an old African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Allahu Akbar. So, life in America. When I was confirmed to do this, I switched my profile, and they put the flag. I had the flag, and this actually was a big flag. It was a public auction. They trade, and my father-in-law went there. He was looking for a car, and this flag was huge. That's how I got to take a picture of this flag. So I took a picture of the flag, and this big old thing about the flag, right? So we could say a lot about it. We could get into that controversy, but the best thing to show that I did for myself was look at what was our history with the flag. We know what it was when it was 13 colonies, when it was so forth and so on, those expansions. Even the flag has changed. There's a whole museum of flags. It wasn't always 50 stars and 13 stripes, and it wasn't always that. So there's more to it than just a flag. In fact, they don't even call it a flag; they call it a banner, right? And the banner has principles, and you can't put down if you put down the banner, that's okay. But if you put down the principles, that's not okay, right? So sometimes these trends, people want to get involved. They just do what everybody else is doing, and that's where our courage comes in, our moral courage that we inherit. This is inherent in our community, that we have moral courage not to be in opposition to our fellow African American community, but to show our disposition, because the Quran never. I can't say never because I'm not a Hafiz yet, but the Quran, and studying the Quran, you don't see where Allah puts down anyone, where He doesn't give them a chance to come up, or He doesn't give them ability to get out of what they got into. So if we take a position of just hurt, pain, then you're not even going to, as in Jonah. That's why that's not why I named my second son Eunice. But I learned in that period of my life that you could go through all this struggle, and you caught up on the struggle, and you caught up on the hardship and the pain, and you forget things change, and you're going through something, and something changed, and you still on something that is not even happening no more. You know what I mean? So this is the same thing with the condition of our people. So that brings us to New Africa, and we'll settle it down there. New Africa. New Africa is about the whole life. So just as I said, about the highest existence of life, And the purpose is community life. It's the whole life. So the sister's talking about the whole child. In order to, and it says, to raise a child, you need a village. You need the whole life, the whole environment. And they break it up so it make it seem like you can't achieve it. When you go to school, they got 150 different courses that you could get a certificate in and get a degree and go work for someone, right? And you think, how are we going to have a community when you got 150 courses? You need 100-something degrees. You can't establish, as the sisters show, a tiny house community. You can do that. We can do that. There's land I saw that you can get land and you can establish a tiny house community and have a shared restroom and shared eating hall. This is where the handicap comes in when you're dealing with the municipality, because they have their way of purifying the water. That's the good thing of having the government that we in, because you can't just hot wire everything and make everything like how you want it, and somebody could get hurt. So there are codes and zoning restrictions. So, but you get by that by having shared, by having collective. Until you get more established, then we can go to, I saw the property over there, a 300-bedroom hotel. You can go to that and establish little housing, temporary housing, until people get off into their career. So this is talking about, and this was actually from Savior's Day, 1975. Imam came in office. Our dear brother Jesse Jackson said that self-power is greater than economic and political power. If you have self-power, you can get economic power. Now, he was bear witness. Of course, when the Imam came in, there was a whole lot of people bear witness to that, right? But the Imam actually, he fulfilled that. He fulfilled that if we stick to our moral principles, our human characteristics, we don't have to trick people into making money. I mean, money is just a means anyway. As the brother just mentioned about the digital currency is about to have access now to Bitcoins. We're going to see how people have been running this world digital. That's what the environment we're in. Everything is becoming transparent. So when people talk about our president and all this and that, the president of the United States, we don't get into the we don't get into all that. We should not get into all this character assassination. These are just distractions. Because the time period that we're in is just showing that everything is transparent. People have been talking like that. Behind this, I mean, people still talk that today. And the prophet said, you get the leader you deserve. So if you're in a nation that has a president that's like, that's going to the least among us. That's not us. It ain't us. So what are we going to do? As the Quran says, we have to be a model for the people, as the prophet was a model to us. Right? So this is what Khalifa means. This is what Sharia, this is what these terms that the media try to use, that strategy they try to use to confuse the masses of people. They don't think there's an element in society, in the Quran, it's in scripture, that they do not trust the human being. They don't feel like the human being can be self-sufficient. We don't believe he can be self-sufficient until he obeys Allah. So we believe that we don't trust the human being either until they submit to Allah. We don't submit to people unless they submit to Allah. We believe in Allah, we believe in the life example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And there's many ways to say that in meetings. There's many ways to say that in action, right? So as I just said, New Africa incorporates the whole life. And it's a new start for us here with a new mind. Isn't this a new mind? A new spirit? Doesn't this bring about a new ethos, a new ethics? That when people come in your environment, they're not going to act the same. They might be the craziest person on the block. If they came and sat here, they're not going to act like that on the block. Because they know we got our brothers here, but also they respect the respect that we're giving to them. And that's all they want. That's all our people want. They just want respect, right? So it's being conscious of what we need as a community and acting on that need. So I love this environment, because this environment is a model. This model, we can invite people to this model, but we also can transport this model. The president, the mosque here, and the family and the staff here, Allah has put you all in a position just like the Imam. When they came to him personally, and there was people around him that tried to make it seem like it was personal, but the Imam said, if it's personal, if it's me, Imam Abdi Muhammad, we all Imam Abdi Muhammad, right? So if we have that logic, we're going to get a lot more, a lot further. And then having this sensitivities of the responsibility to sustain what comes to us. Because nobody wants to give anything to someone that they're going to mess up, or they're going to not appreciate, right? So we say, claim your inheritance. And this is typo here. This is by our dear sister Yimna Kadar. Our reparation is revelation. When we tapped into that mindset, we go amongst the hardcore nationalists, black nationalists, right? And we know they only replicas of where we come from. So it's easy to walk among them because my father, he accepted a whole link, whole sink, line, sink, and hook. All of it, right? But Allah gave us a maturation, a process to develop. And we grew out of that. And we want them to come out of it. That's why we focus not just on, we talk about the founding fathers, as I conclude, but more importantly, as the Imam says, that they were blessed, the founding fathers of this country, they were blessed to interpret the language of Scripture. So when they see Adam and Abraham, they're not thinking about no color man. They're not thinking about a Crayola man. They're not even thinking about a man. They're thinking about something that's in every man, every woman, every human being. So the Imam says this, and we conclude with this. Now that God has connected us with the light and put us in the light, then he said, He has connected us with the light and He has put us in the light. We shouldn't look to outsiders to guide our steps in the road to our destiny or to our good future. No, we should listen to those who God has inspired and enlightened among us. We should listen to them. We should let our whole mind become orientated all over again. Let us feel for what is important and not important, what is more important and what is less important. Let it become a new light. Let it become new in light of what you are hearing now. Yes, and you will become a new people with a new mind, new confidence, new vision, and I believe you're going to outstrip them. In time, you're going to outstrip them all. Isn't that the justice? So and he continued on, you know how he go in, right? So this is what we have, and we're thankful to Allah that the Mosque has accepted, or at least listened, or reached out and allowed us to present what I have here. Further on, it goes into about creating a New Africa comprehensive plan for your area here, to evaluate the properties that you have, that your community members have, and that there's available for you to develop. And to just create, all it's saying really is that this could look better than what it looks where you are, environment, right? And if it's the womb that bores, don't we want our womb, this is our womb here, don't we want it in an environment that's going to produce what we produce here? We want to produce something here and then throw them out there, right? We're producing here, but men, brothers in particular, imams, we have to also produce out there. And we have to establish and build as much as possible. So I have some steps here that, as I said, that are used in community development. And to create a design community planning team to focus on what is already here, what is preserved here, and to look at focused investments that are beneficial to the organization as well as the individual. And by establishing this in this transparent process, it will allow to open up so much. Allah, as the Quran talks about al-kawthar, the abundance. There's so much. Just me studying this stuff and getting involved is so much I have to focus. I still gotta go to work. Like I still gotta pay bills, right? And I joke sometimes with my wife that if it wasn't for the Imam, I'd probably be like a hermit. Like I'd be like one of the guys that just sit and just try to get really into the mind thing. But the Imam, he didn't get blessed with all this just to say I got this. Right. You know what I mean? It was too much in me for him to hold it. He had to share it. You know, so that's the same. We inherited the same energy, the same attitude. You know, and I point out that project. I just point out one project right there, that 300-bedroom hotel. In fact, when I did research about it, actually, the city of Harvey actually gave a developer $10 million. They gave him the money to develop it.
The whole story.
Yes, ma'am.
The Imam bid on that hotel.
Wow.
They didn't do it, and then gave the person $10 million.
Right.
And they still didn't
Right.
do it.
Right.
That's how hard they're trying to stop it.
Right. Right. So this is how you tap into that. I said the big boys are watching us, right? They're going to get our way. There are, and it's not too far north, one of the largest, they call themselves secular organizations. They had, and it's funny, I had a quote in here the Imam talked about, and he said the exact number that they're projecting this year. This organization is projecting to serve 200 million people. The Imam said in the quote I had, he said, we can't expect those who have 200 million people to be reaching down to those who only have 35 million people. I think our number now is at 46, 47 is African American. So nonetheless, the Imam said, he advised us then, and I'm sharing the advice now. Send our best among us to go to them, not to the people who try to block the schemers. We go to the big boys, we sit down, and he said, once they know that you're in, you're just like them. And they're gonna make things get out your way that was in your way. You know, so that's the that's what it says, fight the scheme of Shaitan. No, it's not to say shout at the devil, not to say beat, though we do stone the Jamarat as a symbol on Hajj. But that's not, you know, nobody, well, we shouldn't be thinking that I stoned the devil, I'm not going to see him no more. Because we know he's everywhere, maybe but there. You know, so in reality, that's what it is. It's a symbol of the scheme. So we have answers for that. And we definitely, you all are honorable. I want to salute, I wanted to hug our brother, Warifdeen II, because as I said, my father used to bring out here the first Sunday. And one of the first Sundays, the man was going in, and he said something, and he almost like admonished us. He said, this word should be out more, right? So something hit me and said, I want to invest in the tapes. I want to get, and I still got it. I got a bill, so I gotta get my bill right. Alhamdulillah. Y'all heard it. I'm not gonna create another bill because my wife, she's trying to get on me about being more financially responsible. So I'm gonna make sure I have the money and invest first, return the investment and reinvest, right? Because we get so excited we forget you got bills to pay, right? So, so we thank Allah for that. But so yeah, that day I went to the brother. He told me, oh no, I don't. You got to talk to you call him Wallace. You got to talk to Brother Wallace. I said okay. I seen him, but I didn't really know him, you know. So I was kind of shy. I'm like, I can't just go say, hey, I want to be down, like, you know, it don't work like that. So, but I did. I just went up and I said I was interested in this and that. And he actually invited me to your home that same day. Wallahi, alhamdulillah. We had a delegation. It was about 10 or 15 of us. We always travel in delegation. And we all came. We didn't all go in the house, but they didn't know. I didn't tell them where I was going, but so I had a little security consciousness, you know, because you know that could be a whole nother thing. So we actually went to their house. They invited me in the house. I went downstairs to his lab, to his workstation, and they gave me products to sell. You know, so I say that to say that you all have an established track record, established history. You and your organization, the believers here. So who better to allow this plan? This is the first for the community. Not the first for the community, let me take that back. Because we know in our history we had the Muslim program that's on the back of the newspaper, right? And we have to examine it. I think as believers we should examine that and we should take out and we should work that. Then Imam gave us plans. You know, I saw in the office there about the urban development plan. And so we have to see where we fit at and what we can do. And I'm telling you guys to be so surprised how much support we'll get. So I even have the picture how that can look. Look at that. It could look like that. This is actually a project in Philly we're working on. A brother, he's been working with his father, who actually was the assistant minister to Imam Muhammad when he was a minister in Philadelphia. Yes, Brother Malik, George Malik in Philadelphia. And it's a great history there. And I was honored, my wife and I, to come back to Philly and help out there. So yeah, this is what we got to do. The group. The control of Allah, of God, is on the group, right? So we took this about a couple years ago at the convention, and this still holds. You know, our hand is with the president, and they're young people. They're. It's just like anybody. When you invite somebody, you know, they got to know that the invitation is what it is, right? And you too, you don't just invite anybody just because they, you know, you got to be cautious also, because some people, they come among you and they see something that you probably didn't see, and they're scared you. Oh, then we had it standing here. You didn't even know it was standing here, but somebody else saw it. You wasn't using it, so they took it. So we have to be very cautious of who we allow among us. And this is a flag built off the flag the Imam built. A brother in Atlanta, Amir Mohammed, he actually did a graduate study, a master's degree study on our school system. And when he did that, it became more than just a school. It became about our communities throughout the country. And he was amazed how we had all these communities throughout the country. And so he actually put the color markers, as you can see, to say how many people from that associate with that. We know Imam said there's many more that we don't know that associate with us, but those who claim they are with us. So he called this the Community of Imam W. Muhammad Population Map, right? Alhamdulillah. And I think this could be the future of developments. New Africa, that's why I call it the New Africa territory. Because Imam said anyone that accept the light of New Africa is New Africa territory. Just like he said how they say about Islam. Anyone who accept Muslim is Muslim land. So yeah, they be talking about America, KKK. This is Muslim land. I'm here. You here. this is our land. Something happened to my grandfather before he passed. May Allah forgive him and shortcut grandfather. He was a New York City bus driver. Then September, he just happened to be on a break. He worked the early shift. He worked the late shift early, or the early shift late, and he had a break around the time that happened. Allah knows best, and he actually caught it on camera. He was, cause my grandfather, he was like the gadget man. He had like this right here was a pen, was a knife. Like he was tight. You know, my grandfather, I love my grandfather. He was that's what got my mother and aunt. They're marathon running now because my grandfather, you know, he was alhamdulillah. So yeah, I just want to give credit to the Mosque Cares initiative. That's where I got some of the information from. The New Africa Center, as I said, the project, I work in Philadelphia, Abdul Rahim. Our dear sister Yumna Kadar, who created that logo. I don't know if y'all saw it, but in the logo was different historical figures. I don't know if you could see that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the words, their names. I mean, their people. Yeah. So when the sister said earlier about how we go from she said book to a house. Well, I said we about to go from book, house to community, to cities. Inshallah, what Allah gave us from the book, we're going to establish cities. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that. My father used to always say this. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we're going to inherit cities already built. So with that, we conclude. It is time for questions and dialogue. We have time for that. If not, we thank Allah for being here. Thank my family for... Yes, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I had 3 things.
Okay.
I noticed when you was talking about the suicide, and that one time they were letting us know the suicidal rate among young people. But I discovered, and I keep on forgetting to mention it when we have these discussions, it's a game that our children play called Blue Whale. And the goal of Blue Whale, when you finish the game, is to commit suicide. So they have all kind of little things within for our children, just like you were saying, the different information that's out there. And because we not being safeguarding like we supposed to be, you know, having our children and whatever, we let them watch television, and they was talking about how the cartoons have gotten so violent and everything. The second thing, when you mention whatever Muslim does, you seek to perfect it. Imam Muhammad had told us years ago that we should put that saying in our children's room.
Absolutely.
That whatever Muslim does, he seeks to protect it. Don't do it any other kind of way. The last thing...
Real quick, my father used to say, you can do whatever you want to do, just be Muslim. That's what it was. So you can't lose with that one. But
yeah,
you're right.
Did you all ever hear the story when you mentioned that?
Be Muslim first, my wife correct. Did she go there? I got to shout her out, because we used to do... I'm going to shout her out. Because when we first got in court and engaged and everything, she used to get upset, but I used to put her on blast every meeting. So Allah bless us. We went through a lot of struggles, and Allah got us back, and we working, and we here, alhamdulillah. So.
And the other thing too, I know what you mean, but when you said it, that you could advance more if you wasn't, you know, I know following the Deen.
Yes, ma'am.
But to throw that out, I don't know if you still on
that's
whatever. That maybe you need to clarify, because that does happen to a whole lot of people. Because I know another young sister was saying, they came through the community, they did all this. Now the only thing I can concentrate on is I have to have a job because I have to eat. And that's taken away from a lot. We said with our young people and things, just
Absolutely.
like you have to be cautious. That we need to have investments where we invest in our young people. The young brother, if you have this talent, he shouldn't have to work anywhere else. He should have a job in this community so we can have those community developments. But if you have to work outside, then those things are taken away. And before you know it, you're older. And those things that could have been done is not being done. So these are the kind of things that the Nation of Islam was doing, was the investment, encouraging people to have businesses within. We stuck together, we supported each other. We didn't go out and support other people, we supported each other. So I understood, and if you want to, I guess I made it clear. Yeah,
because advancement is in this world is not advancement with God always, right? So sometimes something can be good, but not for God. And the Quran says that this material world is for everyone. Millionaires, billionaires, you can get it. But the next, the after is just for my devotee, right? And Imam, he explained, he said, not that you're not going to, that his devotee is not going to get excellence in this life. It means that he is going to get excellence in his life. We're going to have Muslim billionaires and millionaires, but they're going to be at peace. They're not going to be committing suicide. You know, so yeah, you're right. You're going to get advanced. I'll say it again. You're going to get advanced if you follow these schemes of this world. But your advancement is not going to be the real advancement. You can sit and call shots and all that, but when you at home by yourself, your heart start eating away at you. Your mind start, you know, that's not real peace, right? So that's what my father said, my wife corrected me. He said, you could be anything, just be Muslim first. Muslim first. Yes. Anything else? Yes, you got anything. Alhamdulillah. Yes, sir. I
This is just a prime example where we are in good.